Ain't you sick of giving me your money?
Oh, it's... Oh. I know he didn't do it, baby.
Hold on a second. Whoa. Where you going?
No, I'm about to go make these drop offs.
Hey, what's happening, y'all? It's Bradley DLO Thomas. I am a marketing and IT professional by day at a pharmaceutical company. By night, I am a producer, MC, learning how to be a DJ, slash trying to be more like Opal and Corey. So let me pass the microphone.
Hey, what's up? It's your girl, Opal Elisa. I am a director of multicultural business marketing by day for a large financial company. And by passion, I am an MC, a poet, author, multi-hyphenate, all of the above. I'll pass the mic.
What's going on? It's Corey Whitmore, owner of Media 22, Radio 22, Studio 22. Trying to get like me. I'm trying to get like y'all.
I'm trying to get like y'all too.
Yeah, it's a lovely thing. So today, we want to talk about a topic, which was actually talked about in a conference called the Level Up Conference, which was put together by UCAN Urban Community Arts Network, and that topic was LLC. I was on the panel, as well as Sha Evans, talking about like what LLCs are. So that's really what we're going to go over today, and kind of educate people about what that is. If you want to see that, the whole talk, you can go to YouTube channel at Radio 22. Go to level up.
Yep.
And the whole conversation, I think it's about an hour long, where we talk about various topics. But let's get right into it. A lot of people might be listening right now thinking, I've heard about LLCs. I really don't know what an LLC is or what that stands for. So that LLC stands for Limited Liability Corporation. And just to give you a quick breakdown of what that means, it's like you're setting up a business as its own entity or its own person, which is separate from you. And the benefits of that is that it's not connected to your personal assets. So, stuff like, you got your car, anything that you might have in your studio, all that equipment, your house, anything that you own that is an asset is separated from that. And the real cool part about that is if something does happen where maybe you do get sued or someone does come after you for any type of reason, your personal assets, because are not being approached, as opposed to your LLC. They're approaching your LLC because that's what your business is under. And the cool part about that too is that if you're just doing business by yourself, if you don't know what you're doing, you are called a sole proprietor, right? Mm-hmm. So you're basically an individual who's doing business, and you're being taxed just like any other individual with a side hustle. So there's situations where I feel like you should have an LLC. There's situations where I feel like you shouldn't have an LLC. Like if you're a small business, maybe it doesn't really matter. But if you have some assets or other things that you kind of want to protect and you want to separate, then I feel like an LLC would be a good option for you.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, bro. Thanks for kicking that off.
For sure.
All three of us got LLCs, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Mm-hmm. So you're talking with folks that had them. This is my second one. Because the label when I was in Milwaukee was its own LLC, and I dissolved that and started the new one, Media 22. the paperwork is relatively simplistic when you're applying online. So I don't have the exact URL off the top of my head, but it's like wisconsin.gov, something like that.
Something like that, yep.
And the fee is what, around 175 or something like that to get registered.
Yeah,
it might have went
like
up. That. Yeah, I think it was like 130 back when I did it. But yeah, I tell people all the time, like if you go somewhere and ask it for $700, $800, that is not it, right? That is not it. You do not need to do that.
Right.
Yeah, definitely under 200 for sure.
Right, and the paperwork is relatively simplistic. I think when I started my first one when I was really young, I was so nervous I didn't want to mess up the paperwork that I actually used LegalZoom. And but just what you're saying, even using LegalZoom, like it was still only 200 something.
Yeah, it shouldn't be too much.
Like you're saying, if it's 700-800, somebody's
playing you.
Off that. But the thing I definitely want people to understand is like you are really in essence creating a whole separate entity. You're almost like inventing or creating a person per se, but it's not a person, it's a business.
Exactly.
That has their own EIN, which is going to be your basically your business social security number. Is going to be the identifier for you. That comes into play, especially when you're sending out invoices, especially with nonprofits and things of that sort. They're going to be asking for that.
Right.
Just like when you be applying for credit cards and things of that sort of, as a person, you got to put your social security. You're going to do business, business credit cards and things of that sort. You're going to need that EIN. Right. So know that, you are really creating something brand new, something separate that's affiliated with you that kind of lives and breathes, itself.
Right.
Yeah, I say too with that EIN number, I like having that as an artist because oftentimes I'll do, like all of us, I'll do different shows. And then for that W-2, they need that information. I'm not trying to have my social security number scanned out and sent to everyone else. So I can just put that EIN, have it go to my business. And that allows me just additional protection as myself, not having to get that out. And that serves for tax purposes just fine.
Right. Yeah. So, and also too, just to kind of break down the term EIN, it's employer identification number. So you can go online and get one for free. I just went to I believe I went to the IRS site to get one a while ago. I've had a couple of them, but that's what it means when you're talking about EIN. So that is one thing you definitely will need if you are trying to form an LLC. You should go over there and get that. A couple other things too. Go ahead. Yeah, one thing I wanted to say too is now there's some benefits, tax wise, to having an LLC. The thing though is I want to say this right now. I am not a public accountant. All right, I'm not giving you like financial advice right now. So don't be coming back, be like, yo, the BLK Currency podcast told me blah blah blah. DLO said. No, like I'm gonna tell you this, like there's tax benefits, but you need to work with an accountant. Hire you an accountant. Like I'll take myself as an example. As I started to buy houses and I started to get like more assets. My taxes became more complicated. So it wasn't as easy as me filling out the forms and throwing everything in. It started to get complicated. So get a person who has, a CPA, a certified CPA, so a certified public accountant, to do all your taxes. I'll be transparent. My taxes, I pay the dude about $300-400. All right. Number one, it saves me time. And also his credentials are on the line. So he don't want to lose his occupation, his job, what he does to bring bread into the house. So that person is going to be on point, just in case the IRS shows up. Yeah. Like, how you doing? Okay, let me get that money from you. And they will if you are not filing your taxes the right way. It's just a matter of time before something gets flagged in your taxes. So I just wanted to mention that too.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll add in on that CPA. Like, if for nothing else, yeah, it's to get all your stuff done and done correctly. But for I'll be honest, in the beginning, what I was using them for was, yo, can I write this off?
Hell yeah.
And there's a lot of stuff you can.
Hell yeah.
I can write this off. Okay. Well, how should I be tracking it so that I can make sure I can write this off in the end?
Absolutely.
So yeah, there's tax benefits. There's write-offs. I think everybody has that thing. Like, I can write everything off. You can't write everything off.
Right.
And the things you write off, there's going to have to be some sort of record keeping, bookkeeping, to make sure that if you do get audited in some way, shape, or form, like, you've done the steps. So it's not like, oh, bro, I don't even know. It happened when? I got it. Yeah, I think I made that purchase. Yep. So, in the beginning, like, at least for me, it was like, what can I write off? And then what's the process I need to have to be able to do that in the right way, where if the audit comes, that I'm not, sitting there, struggling, trying to figure things out. So they most definitely will help with that. And I think as it progressed, at least for me, it became more strategic, because as I started bringing more revenue, it was like, well, brother, you're gonna owe this.
Yeah.
In the end, it's like, I ain't trying to owe nothing. So one of the strategies for me to be able to offset some of the tax burden.
Yeah.
So as your business grows and as you move up and you start bringing in more and more money, a lot of that money is going to be taxable. Uncle Sam's going to want their cut.
Right.
And so now the new hustle becomes, okay, I've written off everything I can write off that's allowable from what you told me. I still got taxable income. So it's like, well, now what do I need to do to offset that? And that's when, either if not your CPA, your accountant, sometimes you can use their resources and they can have you talk to other folks of different strategies and different things you can add into your business to try to help offset that, so you're not sitting there at the end of the year with all this money that you pay into the government.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say, that piece about having those receipts is so big, and that's for money coming in and money going out on things and spending, making sure that, I think especially as hip hop artists, people aren't always as good with the receipts, the invoices. Right. Exactly. You got to be on it and make sure that stuff is set. I'm grateful that usually, now I work with a lot of folks that are more reputable, and they'll send that 1099, right? They'll send those things to me at the end of the year, but that's not always the case. So you've got to have those different receipts, and it's pretty easy to do digitally. But making sure that you're keeping track of that. And then one thing I liked when I was watching the piece from the Level Up, I think Shah, he was just kind of talking about that too, and really looking at, the getting an additional or separate bank account to be able to not have to go back at the end of the year and look at all your finances and decide, okay, what was for this, what was for that. So that EIN allows you to get that business bank account or business to be able to have that go into an entirely separate account and be able to really track those things in a way that makes sense. And I will say the IRS too, they're going to look for you to make money after a few years. So if you keep coming in with losses, so you don't have to pay any tax, they're going to come at you and say, hey, you got one more year.
This look like a hobby.
You got to show how it is profitable. And make sure that you're keeping up with that, just like you would with any other business, with anything that you're doing. So absolutely, you can write off so much. And there's a lot of resources out there to show you, like if you have a home-based business, for example, the square footage matters of the room that you're using to be able to do that, what your home office looks like, lots of things, how you're using your car for performers like us. Outfits, things that we need to wear, travel, all of that stuff. But make sure you're doing it right. As to Corey's point, don't write off everything, because they will come for you. Be smart about it. Right.
Yeah. I use another tool that people could look into too is there's a self-employed QuickBooks. Like if you're not, if you want to keep track of things. And the cool thing about it is I think it's about $15 a month. But it can connect to your bank account. So you open up your LLC, with that new bank account, It automatically pulls everything in. You can also take pictures of receipts and attach those receipts to the transactions as they come through. And then at the end of the year, it actually will do like a profit loss statement or something like that you could give to your CPA. Like here's everything. Yep. If you need more documentation, you need all the receipts, I got everything. So it's always running in the background. So maybe like a couple months, every couple months I kind of check through QuickBooks, just have the app on my phone instead of me going through Instagram or Facebook. I'm sitting here, looking at different costs and expenses, just swiping left and right. Like, okay, that's where that goes. That's where that goes. Just to keep it organized. It's definitely worth the time when tax time comes.
So for those stubborn folks that want to go ahead and do it in Excel, I did that for some years. I've been there. I did that. I'm like,
it worked real good for about a month. That first month, that's the only time.
Bro. I remember I used to have the shoebox with the receipts and stuff from buying the CD sleeves or the printing for the on-print joint or the stuff I got from disc makers, and then I'll be at the end doing the highlight stuff or whatever, circling it and trying to put it into the stuff. Bro, man, I know QuickBooks can be intimidating for folks. It just makes your life just so much easier. And I'll be honest, I was the main one trying not to go to QuickBooks. I'm like, oh man, I'm running Pro Tools, but I can't do QuickBooks. What sense does that make?
Exactly.
I'm like, oh man, QuickBooks, I don't know. I will tell you, bro, it is night and day. Please avoid the shoebox. Please avoid the highlighter. Please avoid the Excel sheet, because even when I was categorizing it and I would send it, he'd be like, oh, that's not categorized right. Well, what is this? Or what are all the other things that you put on here? Because I'm making my own headings of what I think it should be.
Right.
But it's all set up like that in QuickBooks. And when I got QuickBooks, and it's like, oh, so all I got to do is click this, and this is going to run the report, and then I just send them the PDF. That's it. Man, I'm telling you, take the class, do YouTube, go on YouTube. There's little YouTube tutorials, something. But if you're going to do it and you want to kind of take some of that burden off your plate and the stress, especially when it comes to tax time, to be like, oh, where's that shoebox? Or, oh man, I got receipts in 4 different areas in the house. Like, please.
Right.
I've been there. You don't want to do that. You don't want to do that.
And you're only cheating yourself. Like literally, you are going to forget something in there that you could have either written off or you could have put as an expense. For sure, you're just going to miss it because you're going to forget about it, and then you're going to be taxed for it anyways.
Right, 100%. One thing I don't want folks to overlook, and I know we've talked about it, we've said it, but I want to re-emphasize it: business bank account.
Yeah.
I've been there too. I've been there when I was doing the shoebox, and I still had the personal before I got the business. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's the personal. No, that's the business. Okay, so I mean, I won't even lie to you, bro. I had a binder of stuff I had to print out all the stuff and be like, well, what's what? You don't want to do that. Just go and get the business account. Just go get the business account.
Right.
In most cases, it's free. There ain't no
easy. There's usually incentives for it too. Like I'm always getting things in the mail that are trying to get me to open up something. So yeah, just find a place that has the capabilities you need, and use an incentive. They'll put extra additional money in your account if you open it up, or if you already have a relationship with the bank or credit union, they'll put it in there.
Right. And the 2 benefits right away, depending on credit, that you can get is sometimes they'll offer you a credit card right then and there, business credit card. And then the other one is I can't think of what they call it, but it's basically like a little relief fund thing.
Like reserve line of credit.
Reserve line of credit.
Reserve line. There you go.
Yeah.
So those are things that will help your business, especially if it's a startup, and sometimes you may need extra cash because things are getting slow, depending if it's seasonal. If you're trying to get some equipment right away and things of that sort, that's where that reserve line, that's where that credit card comes in. So, they're incentivizing you to say, hey, come in, create this account or whatever. And when it comes to that time when you're trying to look for that loan, possibly, I mean, we all know relationships. It matters.
Yeah,
it really matters. And they ain't never seen you. You trying to come in and ask for something. You especially with one of us. It's
right.
right.
That's a viable business with some income coming in.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
Yes. And those business lines of credit, in my experience, are generally a little bit more generous than that individual, depending on what you're trying to do.
Right.
Absolutely.
And better rates. I know like Amex has really good rates, or even charge cards where if you pay it off at the end of the month, there's nothing. So those things aren't always offered to individuals too.
Right.
True. Definitely build that business credit. Definitely build that business credit because you got an EIN too.
Corey, I wanted to ask you, like, I've got a home-based business, and Bradley, I believe yours is too. But like, what were the differences for you who have like a separate business location? Were there any big differences? Like, I assume you can't file as home-based.
Right.
What were the differences?
At least for me, the write-off is bigger because of the
Yeah.
So that's different. The other thing is that using mileage IQ or miles IQ because now I'm traveling from my home to the business and back. So for me, I think it's like 24 miles or 24 and a half miles is my there and another 24.5 on the way back. So now my work mileage or my business mileage has increased. That is also a write-off. Trying to think if there's anything else because Media 22 started at the crib. It was in the basement. Yeah. So I think those are the two things that at least stick out at least from a write-off standpoint. I don't own the building, so I'm in a building. So there wasn't additional insurance on the space, but I did have to have insurance for folks that are coming in case they hurt themselves. So I did have to grab that insurance. And then I also had to grab equipment insurance in case something missing. Right. So those are different things I had to take in consideration because I'm not at the house now. I'm in a separate business, a separate place where someone could come in, trip, fall, something, a mic fall on them or something in the booth. I don't know, something like that. So I had to watch that. And then because I got 3 spaces and I'm not in all the spaces at once. So because people are coming in, renting the space or using the space, now I gotta, I update that religiously. Any new gear I get, I log into my insurance, whatever. It has me put in like name, the serial number and everything with it, projected costs or whatever. And then they kind of prorate that on my insurance for the equipment as well.
Oh, nice.
So those are other things that I kind of had to step up and do. It wasn't as much of an issue when you just got people coming in through to the basement or whatever and things of that sort. But once I stepped out, especially as the space, like I said, people are renting and sometimes, I have folks there that are running it and I'm not even in the space. Like I got to have all that stuff covered because I could get a call or get a text that, there's been an injury or woo, I was in the bathroom and now the mic gone. You just got to be prepared for those prepared for that. And for me, it was an extra cost, but at the same time, like now I'm in a position where, my reputation is on the line because I got to deliver with certain things.
Right.
And when things happen, I got to be able to try and handle that situation as quickly as possible so I can still serve my clients, not lose them.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So now it came to that point, and even the software I put in there as well. Because it's not tangible, but it's purchased.
Yeah.
Right.
And that adds up between the getting the Pro Tools. I got the old Perpetual and the video programs and some of these subscriptions and stuff. The subscriptions I can't, but the stuff I've bought perpetually that I just own as software. Yeah, I put that in there too.
Nice. Yeah. So what was the process like actually getting the space? Like do they check all your credit? Did they check like everything for the business, or was it something personal that you had to do, or like what was that like?
So I've had two. So since I moved out of the house, I've had two spaces. One was in Fitchburg. This one's in Madison, but they're pretty close to each other off Fish Hatch. Mm-hmm. The process is basically like it's like going for a job. I mean, in all actuality, they aren't asking, what you can do for the business type things and stuff like that, but they're asking about your income. They're asking about what type of clients you bring in, clientele. You're negotiating lease length. They're trying to lock you in long term in most cases because that's guaranteed money. And then have to go and put it back out for sale. And depending on where you're at, like for me in the first spot when I first moved to my first office space, it was like, man, for what I'm thinking, I don't know if this is going to be enough room. So I think I want to keep it short term and re-up after 2 years. And then when I went to the next spot, I was like, man, this is a lot of room. Can I afford this? But it's like I knew I would have to grow into it. Yeah. But I'm trying to think long term. I'm like, okay, I know this is the equipment I'm bringing from the old place is not going to fill up this space. But where do I see myself in year 2, year 3? Mm-hmm. And if I can afford it, do I believe my trajectory is going to help me grow into the space?
Right.
And that's kind of what happened where I'm like, ooh, yeah, this is dope. This is a lot of space. I don't even have equipment to fill it right now. But now, as you've seen, like when for you guys who come in, like we've filled it, but I've changed those spaces over like 2-3 times in all honesty, because there's been new equipment. There's been things that clients have said they want more of. And we've kind of just changed things over, with the time. So, but I mean, you gotta be on it. Like, bro, was on my social media and knew that when I said I was out of town and I came in to talk to him about it, he's like, oh, how's Orlando? I was like, I was like, what? He's like, oh yeah. Oh, my secretary was just checking out your social media. And
oh yeah.
I'm like, yo, this is like a job.
Yeah, no doubt, man.
They check the full thing, but their biggest thing is like, do you have the revenue in which you can pay that rent on time? And do you have consistent enough clientele where this is not going to be an on and off situation? So they're researching like from that standpoint. They didn't say they looked at my credit. If they looked at my social media, I wouldn't doubt they scoped my credit.
I wouldn't doubt it. Yeah.
Because it's business for them. It's you trying to get something and them trying to get something, but it doesn't do them any good to bring somebody into a 2-year, 3-year lease and like you late or you ain't able to make the payments month in and month out. So then you got to go through all that and end up having to possibly evict somebody and then have to spend the time to bring more people to see the space and all these other things. Right. They want as much of a sure thing as possible.
Can't blame them. Yeah. Can't blame them.
Right. I think that's that piece. I feel like the LLC, it's almost also that like psychology of it. Like once you do that, you're saying, I am a business. I'm going to treat it as such. I think I don't know that you would have been rented to without that established business in history. Right. So that's another piece I think that you need it for. So I think there's so many folks out there who are, whether you're doing hair, you cutting hair, you making music like many of us do, if you're doing social media for someone, like if you have some money coming in and you really want to have this future vision of what it might be, I think the LLC is definitely one of those first stops to do. And Corey, one thing you keep saying is kind of like this was a thinking out plan. Like you're always like, what does year 2 and year 3 look like? I think like that, at least for me, was one of the things that said, okay, let me really go ahead and do this and treat this as such. And I think that oftentimes we in our community too, we discount like the talents we have, even if we're getting money for it, and don't think of it as a business, but we should, because there are so many things, opportunities that we can't have if we don't have that solidified and we don't have that history. And then we're just like discounting ourselves when it comes to tax breaks or anything else. If we don't kind of take that plunge and make sure that we're really putting our stake in the ground and saying, yes, this is a business. I'm going to treat it this way.
Right.
Absolutely.
No, man, most things, presentation, especially with the business, that's important.
Thanks.
Presentation is important. Especially with at least the last place in this place, they're doing like direct electronic withdrawals from your bank account.
Mm-hmm.
So they're looking for you to have a business account and
Yes.
they're drawing from.
Yeah, you can't be coming in there with no checks, man.
Right.
Right.
Because they want to make sure it's a sure thing. They want their money up front. They're pulling it straight from the bank.
Right.
Yep.
They got it automated. They ain't got time to.
They got it automated
after you. Yeah.
And that's a part of for me. That was a part of the contract.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, the other thing I would say, review that contract. Or if you don't feel like you can confidently review like the lease or whatever, have somebody review it. They're sometimes, be some slick stuff in there. And even for me, there's some things that I thought were a part of it that weren't a part of it. It was nothing that was major, but it was things that I had to adjust to because the way it was said, it was a little ambiguous, I guess.
So kind of like a record contract, like
yeah.
Okay.
So just don't be like, where do I sign? Like, take a few days, like look over it, and but really look over it. Just because once you sign it and you're in there, it is what it is. It's not like, oh, I thought, no, well, the lease says. But remember when we talked about, but is that in the lease?
That's not what the contracts say.
That's not what it says, and that's what it's going to be. So I know there's, especially when you get your first place, there's a lot of excitement around it, and sometimes you're just rushing to, oh yeah, we got the spot, we got approval, all I got to do is sign and drop it off. Take that extra day, 2-3 days, get another set of eyes on it. Just be sure. I think location, and hopefully we ain't going too far off of where we're supposed to be, but like
the foundation is LLC, but you know what I'm saying? we still talking about LLCs.
We just got to share everything we know. So
but Corey, you know what I'm saying? Keep going in that direction because this is all like the LLC is the foundation of starting all these, of what you're talking about. Like,
the other thing I would say is like location. Location is important. Of course, everything you hear in business is location. So I'm not talking like from a marketing standpoint, like being visible. I'm talking about in where you're looking. Is that a great fit for your business? So for me, and looking, and partially price looking, because I'm like, I got a price range. So what I think I can do and hit. Like my first place, even though me and the dude that owned it were cool. Like, man, my studio was next to like a chiropractor on the right side, and then above me was like a therapist or whatever. And it's like, okay, if you got 2 music studios,
that is
and then they opened up they had a big green room space, and they ended up turning into a half court basketball. So I got people trying to do podcasts and like, that's picking up everything. And then I'm like, oh man, can I come and do a session during the day? But I'm on the bottom floor, so you got to walk in and then go downstairs, and folks be scared of certain folks coming in.
Oh man, Madison,
there's certain smells in the hallway that folks like. And it was like, it was almost being on eggshells, and I had to adjust my hours to the environment I was in, which ended up losing me money. Because I'm like, you know what? I can't run your session at noon or 2 p.m. Bro, we got to wait till have this building clear out. You got to come at like 6, 7. And things of that sort. So, yes, you're looking in a certain price range for the most part. But you got to make sure that you don't get yourself into a space that's going to cost you money and it doesn't set you up for future success. Luckily, there was enough other things going on where I was pulling in money that the main thing didn't have to be studio sessions for me to make rent. So I was able to still get by saying, hey, I'm going to keep the majority of my sessions later or on weekends. But I'm doing other things during the day, editing with headphones or other stuff like that. that I can get away with and still make money, so I can still make rent.
Right.
So I would just tell people, like, just really be intentional and really think through that. It's not just the space, it's your neighbors, and it's the other space. I've had folks came in with the music too loud and they wanted to call the police because they coming in just to do a radio show. They coming in playing their music. It's like, oh man, what's this loud music? I gotta call the police. I'm like, now you call the police on my clients now?
Right.
Right. Well, that does sound like Madison, Wisconsin.
It really does. Facts.
Yeah.
Facts.
Yeah. Okay. Well, man, that was super dope that you shared that with us, Corey. I'm sure you. I mean, I can't imagine the sacrifices you had to make too, just to, because you're a family man too. So it's not like you ain't got other things to do during the day. Right. Like you would rather be doing your business during the day, but you got to push it back. So, yeah, those some good ideas and perspectives. Made me think about like having a business plan and having like a
oh yeah, definitely need that.
Like writing that down. Like, okay, like I'm gonna set up this LLC. These are the things that I need to put in this LLC. These are this is the environment that I need to be in. These are the things that I'm looking for. So when you're going out, you have a very clear idea of what you're looking for. And I feel like that'll save a lot of time, because I feel like we'll start a business, but we just start a business. Like we don't have a vision. We don't have a 5-year plan kind of laid out of exactly what we want to do. You probably won't do exactly that, but at least you'll go in that direction, as opposed to just kind of, freewheeling it. Like, okay, I'm gonna go over here. I'm gonna go over here. And if it happens, it happened. Like, no, it's not, not having a plan is a plan. It's a terrible plan. Right.
Yeah. I would tell folks, like, and, a lot of people come at it differently with the business plan thing. I think you definitely need to have the things that you want to do set up in the beginning. Now, how detailed your business plan is, I think, is on you and on the individual, because I know some cancers, like, you shouldn't move forward without that full laid out business plan. And I know some people are like, if you have a general idea of what you're trying to do and you got the core concepts, you can move. I've been on both sides. So, well, okay, that's a partial lie. I've been like on like 1.5 sides, if that makes sense. So like when I did the label, like I started the label before I had the business plan, but I ended up getting the business plan, I think, after year 1 and year 2, like a legitimate one, because I was trying to go to banks and like get this finance.
Right, you have to have that. Yeah,
I had the full. It didn't get me. It didn't get me anywhere. It was good to have all that stuff out, though, and to talk about the things I wanted to do, because I had to do projections and then assign numbers of how much I thought I was going to bring in per year and all that other stuff. And then to put me in front of bank folks to be able to like sit there and be able to explain it and be like, because they're going to sit there. It's like a job interview. Oh, so you're looking for this amount of money. Oh, where is it going? How are you doing? What's your history? How are you going to make this mark? And all those things. But when I did the second business, when I did Media 22, it wasn't as detailed, but I had like a 5-year plan, because there was 5 things that I wanted to, 5 little mini entities that I wanted to put together. And then I had figured out what are the revenue streams from each entity.
Right.
So I'm like, I know the 5 things I want to build. I know the things that come off from that would make money. And I know the order that I want to do it in. So it wasn't like the full 30-pager that said, hey, this year I'm making X, Y, and Z, and this year I'm making X, Y, and Z. But it at least gave me a direction. And then it gave me contingencies to say, if this ain't popping, you've developed this, and can you make money from this? This ain't popping, you have this, and you can make money from this, which really showed itself, when we did our interview or whatever together in the pandemic. And the whole radio dropped off. DJ dropped off. The studio was closed for a while. And it was like, well, I'm still in a lease.
Yeah.
They ain't like, oh yeah, bro, we in a pandemic. You ain't got to pay me rent this month.
Right.
Like, yo, I still expect it all the time. So it's like it was like, whoa, if I hadn't set that out, I would have been completely lost. And if I hadn't established some of those things, even though I just moved into the space, 4 or 5 months prior, I have no clue where I would be. I don't even know if I'd still have the company if I hadn't put out that plan to say because it takes time to kind of just brainstorm for pivots and create contingencies.
Yeah.
It's not always something that you could say pandemic hits. Oh, you know what? I'm going to go do this. For some folks, in most cases, it just doesn't work that way. You got to kind of sit down and think like, okay, if this happens, can I do this? If I want to do this, do I have the things in place to do that? Sometimes it takes more knowledge to be able to pivot. Sometimes it takes equipment to be able to do different things like that or whatever. I mean, I saw people that started recording remotely. People would help them do the recording process from their bedroom, but they was off in their spot.
Right.
Which is like, whoa, I'm like, whoa, that's but you need to know how to do that. You need to know the things you need to put into place. You need to be able to coach somebody that's on the other end and say, hey, this is how I can manipulate stuff from my computer onto your computer, and I can run the session and I can get all the things done and da-da-da. Like that takes setup time.
Right.
So yeah, you just gotta, you gotta have something. Is at least what I'm gonna tell you. You gotta have something. It can be crazy detailed and that works, but at least you gotta have, and if not, you still gotta have a direction. You gotta have contingencies because something will eventually not go your way or something will go wrong, whether it's caused by you or not caused by you, but you gotta be prepared.
Yeah, I think that's such a good point. You got to be able to be agile to pivot when you need to and be able to flex. But I think it's also such a good idea to have that written down because that's the only way you can really like do the math. You've got to make sure that stuff makes sense, right? Like you had to plan it out to see like whatever you're charging for rentals or sessions, like does that make sense? Because oftentimes the number off the top of our head, it might not make sense at all when you really break it down to what you're doing, how much time you're spending, what you got to pay to get it done. So that's what I have loved, that has helped me really figure out, okay, this is how much time I'm actually spending. Right. Is it worth it? And how can you do it? And if you don't write that out, you could totally be, undercharging for things, or you could be overcharging in the wrong market. You really got to have that laid out. Yeah.
Yeah. I've had some experiences like that and doing some web development projects for people. Where it's, you thought, because you used to just doing stuff, boom, I do it in front of my computer. I set my website up, I do my thing. Didn't take me that much time, but you hit on such an important part. I just put that out, put the time out there, and if you don't pay attention to it, you'll end up doing a $2,000 project, which you really should have got $5,000 for. Because you didn't really think about working and how to get their ideas out. They didn't really think about their ideas. Then there's upkeep. There's a lot of different things, like Corey was saying, that can happen. So definitely write it down and stay agile. As Opal says, I know you do business. Like anytime you hear somebody be like, yo, you gotta stay agile, contingencies, you're dealing with two bosses. You know what I'm saying? I swear. That's that boardroom business talk right there. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Just like when they listen to Veronica's episode, I mean, it's like everything I learned from work, you best believe I'm applying to my business. So my business acumen is growing every single day because I'm at work working for a large corporation. It's just feeding me, teaching me all of that stuff, and allowing me to test and learn in both environments and bring what I'm learning over here over there and vice versa, which I think is valuable. I think we're starting to see that, just like with that NAV app. I think we're starting to see how valuable that makes you when you're getting knowledge from both of those places, because you got to do your research too. I think that's one of the biggest things. You got to do your research and get some knowledge about what you're actually giving. And like you said, DLO, like we undercharge so much. Like I think sometimes when things come easy to us or we're talented, then we underplay the value in that. And we bring so much of it because it's science and art. No matter what you're doing, there's an element of science, an element of art. And I think that quote that says something like, I charge what I charge now, even though it takes me 10 minutes because it took me 10 years to get to the point where I can do this in 10 minutes. So do not discount that because I guarantee you, if they're going to someone else to do it, it's going to cost more. If they're going to, a large corporation or something like that, they're gonna pay what it's worth. So you got to be able to do that math, and then you can prove it too. You can say, hey, look, this is why this costs that much, and show that kind of value as well.
Absolutely.
Yesterday's price is not
today's price.
That was one of the best things to come out of the pandemic. No.
Yeah, that's
Fact.
right. That's right.
That's a fact.
Mm-hmm.
That's a whole fact.
Yeah, it is.
For real. We got to start upping them prices, y'all. You know what I'm saying?
Inflation affects us too. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, I hope hopefully this was a great conversation. Hopefully this was useful for folks that are trying to, dabble in and start their own LLC. Hopefully they're able to pull, from some of our experiences and things that we shared. And like we said before, you can reference the talk from the Level Up Conference, the UCAN Level Up Conference, at the Radio 22 YouTube page. So I know that one has a little bit more particulars with links and things of that sort, because he had the PowerPoint with that one. So, if you have any other questions, that would be the first place I would start.
So good. Good.
So get there. All right, Sean, we appreciate another one of these behind the scenes. We gotta do some more of these. We gotta do some more of these.
We do.
I don't think we do enough of these. We sprinkled some in first season. We may have to sprinkle a little bit more in the second.
More backstage passes, man.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
I like that. All right, y'all. We appreciate everybody tuning in. Make sure to check out the websites back on myradio22.com, BLK Currency Podcast. Make sure to check out our IG at BLK Currency Podcast and our Facebook at BLK Currency Podcast.
Yeah. I want to put it out there too. Like, if there's anything that you want to hear, or any topics that you're interested in hearing about, just hit us on IG. Send an inbox so that we can sit down and figure out a way to bring that to you. So just putting that out there too.
Absolutely. Any topics and any people too. If you are, some of those experts who are what we look for, as you all know, experts in some sort of business or financial arena, but then also giving back and connected to the Black community. Very important to have both those things for us.
That's what's up. All right, y'all. All right, listeners, we appreciate y'all tuning in. We'll see you for the next one.
Peace, y'all.
Peace.
Ain't you sick of giving me your money?
I know he didn't do it, baby.
Whoa, where you going?
No, I'm about to go make these drop balls.